Have you ever thought about buying a classic car, or do you own one already? Odds are it won't be your last. Many of us can't settle for just one. And if you can't afford to amass a vast collection, you might find yourself trying to own them all, one car at a time, just like me. Are you into 50s and 60s American icons? Or something older like pre-war vehicles? Or are you into newer classics, which I guess really extend all the way into the early 90s? Or are you into just a little bit of everything? Often, it all starts with a better understanding of what you really want. I own a high volume restoration shop, so I've learned quite a few things over the years, and yes, some of them have inevitably been learned the hard way. So tune in and I'll walk you through and share some valuable tips on the classic car buying and ownership process as learned in my 30 years of experience as a classic car buyer, owner, and avid enthusiast. If you're in the market for a classic car, I created a free classic car inspection checklist to help you look past the shine, ask the right questions, and avoid scams before money changes hands. Download it here, completely free, and shop with confidence instead of regret. One of the first steps in trying to buy a classic car is determining why am I buying a classic car? So why are you buying a classic car? How do you plan to use it? Are you going to drive it to shows? Are you going to drive it often? Are you going to drive it far? Are you going to drive it hard? Or are you going to drive it fast? All of these different things are going to impact the type of car you're going to select. In addition to that, you really need to know what kind of amenities you want, not just common features such as options. I need a rally sport, or my Mustang has to be a GT. I'm not going to buy a Charger unless it's an RT. But in addition to those things, like what do I need? I've got a bad back, so I need something with comfortable seats. I'm a fat guy, so I need a steering wheel that's not sitting on me. I might need tilt or an adjustable seat, right? A lot of these can be modified. We can add tilt, we can add tracks that slide the seat further back. But just keep in mind the things you need. Is your wife gonna go with you? Does she want AC? Do you want AC? These are the different things you gotta consider. So just kind of take that all in and decide what you think you want in a perfect world, what you would have, could have, and surely what you should have. Additionally, are you really set on that given make and model? There's so many different types of cars. Like I said, do you need an RS or an SS? Do you need to have a Camaro? Can you do a Nova? Do you want a Challenger? Is a Dart affordable and good enough? So just try to figure out what your option A's, B's, and C's are, right? Sometimes you're looking for a 4-bedroom house and you find an amazing 3-bedroom with a den. Just be open-minded. Don't be too all over the board because you really want to hone in on something that you like, but be a little open-minded so that you can kind of see what else is out there. If you're too pigeonholed, you might miss something that's awesome that's right under your nose. To that same notion, if you're too picky also, you might never find the right car. But trust me, the right car is out there somewhere for you. Take your time, look around, and find the right car. Lastly, are you practical about car ownership? A lot of people think they're going to just hop in a classic car and drive it every day. You know what? That's absolutely reasonable and doable if you buy an unmolested car that's already in great shape, that's a proven runner. You buy a car that's fully restored and somebody's already done the shakedown to make sure that it runs well. But just because it's shiny, just because it has all brand new parts, does not give you any guarantee that it's going to be a good driver. So make sure you get out there, test drive it, use it, make sure you're buying the right car, and then also understand, how realistic am I? Is it going to rattle? Is it going to squeak? Every convertible is going to have a little bit of a rattle and a little bit of wind noise. It comes with the nature of a convertible. Am I going to be able to get in and out of the back seat? Well, buy a 2-door coupe? Probably not. So just think about how you're going to use the car. I know all of this sounds really simple and really redundant, but just walk through it with yourself. Look at cars. Try different cars on. Like I go to the shoe store and I try shoes on to find out the ones I like. I'll try on multiple sets. They look the same, but one set really rocks. So do the same with cars. Go to a car dealership that has classic cars, sit in them, imagine yourself driving it, and just really see if you can determine what you're really after. But at the end of the day, I tell people just be realistic. If you've got a nice classic car, you should definitely have AAA or insurance that provides a tow because you're going to break down at some point. If you don't, consider yourself a lucky winner, but most people are going to break down at some point. It doesn't mean they're not reliable. It doesn't mean you have to break down. Just expect the worst, and then when you don't have any problems, you're going to be super stoked. Additionally, are you willing and able to work on the car? Can you maintain it? Do you have space to store it? Do you have somebody that can work on it? A lot of people don't take that in mind when they're buying a classic car. You think you're just going to buy something and it's going to be perfect, or you buy something and it's so much work to put it back together that you'll never get it done. So just be pragmatic, be practical, and best luck on your shopping. So what is your purchase budget? Anytime you buy a car, I recommend that you spend the absolute most that you can afford to buy the right car. The more you spend, ideally, the more car you're going to get, the better value, more bang for the buck, right? But you need to make sure you know, do you have to spend any money above and beyond that? So if I've got 60 grand to spend on a car, don't underestimate the fact that you're going to pay, 10% sales tax on it. You're going to pay shipping, you're going to pay tax, license, registration, transport, and repairs. Every time I see somebody buy a car, it seems like if they drop a given amount on a car, let's use an example of a couple of different Barrett-Jackson cars I've seen come through my shop. Guys have dropped like 60 grand, 70 grand on a car. We look it over and realize that, it still needs a couple of different things, so you're going to spend another 10 grand on the car. So look at it, make sure that you know realistically what your budget is and how much you're going to have to put into the car, because that's really what your budget is. But if you can buy the right car for X and get out the door for X plus Y, then it makes sense. Even if the most car you can afford is an entry-level car that's going to need some work over time, I get that, right? So you buy a car, make sure you buy something that's foundationally solid, ideally something that might run and drive so you can improve it over time. Rome wasn't built in a day. You can drive the car, continue to work on it, and improve it over time. Money comes in waves, money comes in over time. It gives you a reason to work hard and get towards that goal. And if I can add extra emphasis to that fact, if you're going to get any kind of a project, ideally get something that runs and drives. It's going to totally improve your enjoyment factor if you can use it while you're fixing it up. You don't have to push it around the garage. It's not just a dead soldier sitting in the driveway. It's something that you can enjoy during the process. So if you can, dedicate and allocate as much money as you can for the proper car. I'm not the one selling you the car. I'm not telling you to spend more money so somebody else can have more profit, more margin. What I'm trying to say is to spend as much as you can to make sure you get as much car as possible. Don't underestimate what it's going to cost to fix it up. Start with a nice car, do a couple nicer things to it. If you can only afford a beater, then buy a beater and do a couple things to it, but be practical. Seeing the car in person, I cannot possibly overemphasize how important I feel it is for you to go see a prospective car in person. That way you can see it, touch it, feel it, smell it. Literally, you know it's real because you get to see it, but you get to kind of take it all in, see if it's really what you expect it to be, get a chance to sit in it, just see if it feels right. And mostly, even if you're not an expert, you know what you want out of a car, and there's no way to really get that experience dialed in perfectly unless you go see it yourself. One of the major reasons, in addition to that feel and just sizing the car up in person, is you can really size up the seller. Who am I buying this car from, right? So if it's a dealership, you can really see what this car dealer is all about, what type of people are there, what the cars on the lot look like. I mean, you just take in all the cues. If it's a private party, I always want to meet the person if I can. If it's like an auction or a dealer selling it, anytime I can talk to the actual owner that's selling it is nice. It just really helps me to trust the seller, to trust the process, and make sure I'm not going to get scammed on the deal. Hopefully this has helped shed a little light on the classic car buying and ownership journey. If you can relate and have tips or even a story to share, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if you're interested in a deeper dive on what to look for when buying a classic car and how to protect yourself, consider checking out my complete buyer's toolkit where I break it all down in much greater detail. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.